Welcome back to Rocky Mountain Gardens. And guys, today I am going to be sharing with you some thrift flips of items that I've had sitting in my garage for a while, and I am finally getting around to changing them over and making them new for my home. And I hope you enjoy seeing some of these projects of mine and how I use them in my home. So if you're new here to my channel, welcome. My name is Mary, and I hope you will think about subscribing or giving me a thumbs up if you enjoy the video. So we're just going to jump right into these projects. Friends, I have this cute little stool here, and as you can see, it wasn't painted, what do I want to say? So it covered completely the wood. But in addition, I have all of these watermarks from plants that were sitting above this stool, dripping on it, and it kind of ruined the finish even more. So today I'm going to use my ink Waverly chalk paint to give it a good coat of black and get it looking up to snuff again. So this is a very quick little project that I'll get started on here in just 1 minute. As usual, I'm starting with the underside of the stool and using a chip brush to apply my paint. All right, now here is my small black stool, and it's looking much better. This black chalk paint covers so incredibly well. And we're going to turn it upside down here because since I used chalk paint on it, I'm going to be sealing it with this clear wax by Varathane. And so I'm going to be using my wax brush, and here you can see what it looks like on the inside, but it is actually clear. And let's get started on sealing. If you've never used chalk paint with wax for a sealer, the last step is to wipe back the excess wax. And I have quite a bit of excess wax on this little stool, so I'm going to give it a good wipe down, and then my project will be completed. This pretty beveled mirror I found at a thrift shop for $3.50, but as I'm pointing out here, you can see it was given a finish that was, I think, supposed to be distressed sort of look. And I didn't care for the shade of the gold either. So I'm going to use this European Gold Rub and Buff, which is a more muted gold color, to tone this down and get rid of that very poorly done distressing on the frame of the mirror. So here I'm just applying some Rub and Buff to a paintbrush, and I'm painting right over that, and you can see this Rub and Buff is covering up that faux distressed look quite well. And a little goes a very long way with Rub and Buff. It's such a tiny tube, but boy, it lasts just about forever on your project, so it's worth the price. And it's available easily enough off of Amazon. So if you're looking for a shade of gold similar to the one I'm using here, this one is called European Gold. They have several different shades of gold in the Rub and Buff collection of colors. Just wait until you see the finished look that this mirror has after I have completed covering it. You'll be so surprised, and I think it will make you want to invest in some Rub and Buff yourself for different thrift store projects. Now here I'm pointing out to you the difference between the original frame and the part that I have covered with the Rub and Buff, and how it looks quite different and not quite as gaudy, I guess I would say. I really am liking this new appearance for my really pretty beveled mirror. Next, I'm taking a soft cloth and I'm going to buff up the finish on this Rub and Buff product. And of course, that's its name, Rub and Buff. And when you buff it up gently, you get a little bit of a shine. I think the more you buff it, the shinier it gets. And since I wanted a rather satin finish to the look of the mirror, I didn't spend a lot of time buffing on this project. But in the end, it came out beautifully. And here it is. Have a look at this awesome chunky frame that I picked up at the thrift store. Isn't it incredible? I am so excited, and I wanted it to just look a little brighter, so I'm using this pewter Rub and Buff over the sort of metallic areas that you see on the sides of the frame, and I'm applying the Rub and Buff same as I did on the previous project with my mirror. I'll tell you, Rub and Buff is one of the best ways to go ahead and brighten up anything, or if you want to entirely change the color of any metal or any part of a project, Rub and Buff it's as good as chalk paint as far as covering up an old color and allowing you to change it completely for your taste in your home. And so here's another example of using this product on any kind of a thrift store find that you'd like to change for your home. Here's my finished frame, and I can use it either horizontally or vertically. And let's take a look at some photos. This rooster is a wrought iron doorstop that I was given as a gift, and I've never loved the gaudy colors. I thought I would try the technique of using paints to give it that heavy concrete look with English outdoor garden figurines. And so I am using this mineral chalk paint as a first coat on it. And this is going to really cover well all of these bright colors for me. Now that my chalk paint has completely dried, it was the color Mineral, in case you missed that. And here I'm just showing you all sides of the rooster. I'm using Debbie's Design DIY white chalk paint, as you can see here, and I've got my wax brush and I'm applying it and trying to get it down in all of those feathers, completely down in there, to give it a two-tone that weathered concrete often has in the garden. And so I'm applying it carefully throughout this little rooster's feathers and where he's standing. So, and then we'll go on to the next step, which I think you'll really like. Here I've gotten out a soft microfiber cloth and I'm wiping away the wax on the tops of the feathers, which leaves the white deep in the grooves and gives a two-toned effect. Very pretty. I think my rooster is the way I want it now. Here's my rooster doing his job as a doorstop. Here is an anniversary clock that I purchased at the thrift store like everything else, and I got this idea for creating a cloche from Sherry, and her YouTube channel is called Canterbury Cottage, and she does lots of thrift flips, which if you're interested in, she has awesome ideas for odd sorts of things that you find at thrift shops. Because it is so expensive to purchase a cloche, I decided to use Sherry's idea to create one for my home. Hence, I am right now taking it apart, getting all of the clock parts out of the way so that I can use the base for the base of my new cloche. The base of this clock was made of metal, and I am going to give it a concrete sort of finish. Back to concrete, friends. This time, however, because I have such a slick metallic surface on the cloche base, I'm using some of my mineral chalk paint and adding to that about another time full of baking soda. This will give me a sort of rough texture and will help it to adhere to the metal piece of the base. So I'm going to stir it up, and you'll see it's quite thick as I stir it up. And that's the look that we want to create a concrete sort of appearance. If you've seen this concrete technique before, you might know that the mixture I use to paint this base with gets to have a very rough surface. And using white wax, as I am doing right now, applying it over the paint, it will help to bring out the rough surface that I have created on the base. So here is the cloche that comes from the anniversary clock. I've got it all cleaned up. And guys, I bought this handle at Hobby Lobby when they were on sale a while back. It has a lot of gear on it for attaching it to, you know, a piece of wood on a drawer or something like that. But I'm not going to use it that way, and I'm going to attempt to disassemble it with my pliers. and take all of this off, all of these various parts, to create a handle for my cloche. Now, as you can see, this comes apart with this piece right here. So I'm taking all these other pieces off. I'm going to reuse this tiny little piece right here as a topper. I will glue that one on in a bit. I'm going to be attempting to glue on this. It's, I think, made of lucite, something like that, handle right here on the top to create an actual handle. I think I might attach this together with glue first and then use that as a piece to stabilize it here on the center of the top of the cloche and give it a little silvery something below. So I'm going to take this small little silver piece, and I've got my E6000 glue, and place a small amount in this little, it almost looks like a little tray. And so I'm going to place this inside it. So I've placed it right there in the center of the lucite piece. And I'm going to step back and let this dry for quite a while to get it nice and permanently attached. And now I can pick up my cloche by using this nice handle with this pretty top. I'm really liking the way that looks. Well, let's move on to decorating. So here's the base that I painted earlier. And I'm going to prepare this for my spring home tour. And this is what you will see there. So I have this really cute little ducky. He's a vintage piece. And I'm going to put him here. And you'll notice that we have these two little holes on either side of where the ducky is standing. You can see them. And so the duck is going to be here. I'm going to use this back hole here as a place to put some florals for the design I'm doing in the cloche. So I've gathered together some floral pieces, and we'll start with this greenery, which I'm going to place into the hole. And as I add more pieces, then it will fill up the hole and it will be able to stand up properly. Oops. So if there are enough stems inside that hole, it will help hold everything together. I love the colors. Now, how do we cover up this hole here and give it a finished look? Well, I've got some moss here, and we're going to utilize that to complete the look here. So I'm just going to tuck some of these mossy pieces in and around. And of course, right here where the hole is that I want to disguise. Now let's try to get the cloche over this whole design. We'll just tuck everything in the best that we can, and we'll get a look at the design. So what do you think? Won't that look darling in my home decor for the spring? You'll see it sitting there somewhere in my house when I give you that tour. Let me know in the comments below what you think about how this turned out. I want to thank you all so much for stopping by my channel, and if you liked what you saw, please give me a thumbs up.